Hi. So today is Monday. Normally I would be at work right now, but we had a power outage at the plant, so I'm working from home today. So today happens to be the day 2 years ago that I got Abe. So 2 years ago today, I picked him up from the shelter. So I thought this would be a good opportunity to kind of briefly retell his story. I think most of you are familiar with Abe, but if not, this will give a good opportunity to get up to speed. Because this dog is the reason that I am a dog trainer today. He is the reason that I'm here in this position that I'm in. And he's the reason that I discovered my passion for helping people and training dogs. So, the story. So, before Abe, I had very little experience with dogs. I had a dog, a little dog, a rat terrier named Ginger, growing up. We just recently lost her in June of this year. She was 16. So I got her when I was young. Grew up with a dog in the house. Always loved having a dog. Did a lot with her, but she was a little dog, so I never did like agility or any dog sports or anything like that with her. But I always had a dog and I really enjoyed having a dog. So in October of 2016, I found this dog on Pet Finder. So I had entertained the idea of getting a dog, but I knew that I couldn't get a dog because I still lived with my parents at this time. I hadn't bought my house yet. I would buy my house a few months later, but at that point I was still living with my parents and no plan to move out. I had a theoretical plan to move out, but I couldn't afford it yet. Didn't have the right options because I had all the horses at my parents' house and all that. So still with my parents. Just happened to be looking around on Pet Finder near Peoria, which is where my boyfriend works. He works for Cat in Peoria. I just typed in, dogs in the area, and this dog came up called Abe. And I immediately was drawn to this dog because both myself and my boyfriend, Jordan, we met in college. We were both in the School of Agricultural and Biological Engineering. ABE is what everybody called it. That's where we met. That's where both of us got our degrees in. He has a master's, I have a bachelor's in agricultural engineering as part of the ABE department. Absolutely love that department. It's rated #1 in the nation. Awesome program. Absolutely loved all of my time spent there at college in this department. So I was immediately drawn to this dog because of his name. But he was 3 hours from home. He was about an hour and a half from Peoria, 3 hours from my house in Indiana. But I saw him, and his picture was he was crouched down, he was cowering, just looking real scared, real wide eyes. And his description said that he needed a patient adopter that would give him time and understanding because he was timid and scared of people. So I was like, hey, can we go meet this dog? Like, I know I can't have a dog yet, but I want to go meet this dog. There's something about this dog. And I've always been someone who thinks with their mind and not their heart, because I am an engineer, I am a logical thinker, and I had no intention of adopting this dog until I met him. So I went and met this dog, and he was absolutely terrified. He was barking at everybody who would come into the kennel. He was cowering away and all that, and the kennel attendant, only one of two people in the entire place that he sort of trusted to take him out to potty. Like, she would reach through the gate real carefully, put a slip lead on him, and take him out to potty. And he would just like slink along the ground out to the potty area, go potty, and then drag the kennel attendant back to his kennel because that's where he felt safe. So I went down there on Saturday of that week, and then again on Sunday. I hand fed him through the chain link in his kennel. I didn't really even touch him. Like I touched him a little bit through the kennel, but I never walked him. I never did anything like that. And I talked to the kennel attendant who was working with him, and we kind of hit it off. She has a lot of animals. I have a lot of animals. So we kind of talked about how I would approach this dog, because I have a lot of experience, and I had a lot of experience prior to Abe with rehabbing timid and fearful horses, but never with a dog. So I'm like, I can totally do this. So I went home after that weekend and I talked to my parents, and I was like, hey, I'm not going to be living here much longer. I really want this dog. I really want this dog. So after a couple weeks of thinking, they finally relented, and I made plans to go get him. So I applied to adopt him, and they called me back and said, yeah, you're approved. When do you want to come get him? And I was like, well, it'll have to be this weekend since I don't live in the area. And I know that's outside of your 3-day hold period. So I understand if somebody comes in and scoops him up. And she's like, well, he's been here a year and nobody's ever applied for him. So I think you're okay. And that just broke my heart. He's this real sweet dog, just very scared. But anyway, this is already a 7-minute video and I haven't even brought the dog home. Oh my God. I'll try to speed up a little bit. So I bring him home. I made plans to kind of approach it in the same way that I approached a horse that has the same issues. But what I didn't realize until about a week and a half in was how serious his fear aggression was. So I had about a week and a half of this honeymoon period where he was so outside of his comfort zone that he just went into self-preservation mode and didn't really do anything but sleep, which I expected because the kennel environment is so hectic that when a dog, it's typical for a dog to come home and just sleep a ton in the beginning. But it happened, the first time his fear aggression came out was I was putting his harness on to take him to the vet, and I used a harness so that I wouldn't have to get real close to his face, because I knew that he had some aggression issues, but not nearly as bad as what they ended up being. So I was putting his harness on, and he freaked out. Snapped at me, lunged for me, was just sitting across the room and just growling and lunging for me like just a different animal. And it freaked me out. So I called the vet and said, hey, I can't come in today. I'll have to reschedule. So that was a moment that really scared me because I thought maybe this was too much for me. And he had bitten my dad previously. So a couple days before, I had Abe in a crate while I went to see a movie. And I said, hey, don't do anything with this dog. Just leave him alone. He's fine. Don't do anything with him until I get back. Well, my dad didn't listen. Shock. And took him out to potty, put him back in his crate, and then reached into his crate to unclip his leash, and he freaked out and bit him. Not hard, didn't break skin or anything, but bit him. And I told him, I'm like, yeah, he's not a big fan of men. He's not a big fan of crates. And a big man is reaching in for him in his crate. Yes, he's going to feel like he needs to defend himself. But I didn't realize how bad it was. So after that first instance happened, before taking him to the vet, I was pretty panicked. So that's when I started doing a bunch of research, trying to figure out how to approach this. And that's when I found a lot of the resources that I still use to this day. So I went the purely positive route at first for counter conditioning. And I took him to some group classes and saw a behaviorist and had him on Prozac and all that stuff. And I made some progress. I was able to kind of push his threshold back. But once he got to that threshold, he was still as enthusiastic about defending himself and lunging for my face and all those things. Like, I was able to push his threshold back a little bit, but he still thought that aggressing toward me was an option. So that's when I was like, okay, this is not working. I got to do something different. So I contacted a balance trainer in California that I had been following on Facebook and YouTube and stuff. Bethany Wilson of Rough Beginnings Rehab. She's great. I love her. And she's so realistic about explaining things, and she's fair and very just common sense, no nonsense, but not any extreme way one way or the other, if that makes sense. So she's a balance trainer, everything's just absolutely realistic and common sense and all that. And she's just very rational, and which I appreciated as a rational human myself. So she instructed me that I needed to correct him when he gets to that point, still continue to do everything that I was doing, working on making him more comfortable. But when he got to that point, I needed to correct him. So she's the one that got me onto the dominant dog collar, which is just a slip lead, real high up, snug on the neck. So I would still, like I said, do absolutely everything I was doing. But when he would get to that point where he had flipped the switch and was trying to bite me, you just put a little upward pressure on that leash on the dominant dog collar and it cuts their air off. And it only took me doing that maybe 5 times total. Not in one session, like once or twice, and then, another day he would do it again, and it would take once or twice. Maybe 5 times total, and I've not had to do it since, because it's very clear, like, that's not an option. You can't do that. Not yelling, not mad, not hitting him, nothing. Just, if you do that, I'm going to take your air. So that made it very clear for him that that's not an option. So he now deals with his discomfort in other ways. He can tell me that he's uncomfortable without putting his teeth on me. And in exchange, I commit to him and make it clear to him that I'm not going to, on purpose, make you more uncomfortable than necessary. Like, I'm going to advocate for you. Nothing bad's going to happen, but you can't put your teeth on me. Like, that's not an option. You can't do that. So that kind of led me to where I am now, because I've always been someone that has to know absolutely everything that I can. I try not to be a know-it-all by any means, but I want to know, like, everything. Like, I want to learn everything that I can. If I don't know something, I want to find out. I don't think I've ever been like, oh, I don't know, I don't care. Like, no, like, I don't know that. Why don't I know that? I need to know that. I'm going to find out. It's just a constant search for knowledge. So in the process of trying to fix his behavior, I learned so much and got so many resources that I still use. Just so many awesome, excellent trainers that I still follow. There were some that I followed that are just like, I don't know, that I kind of let drop off, but there's a lot that I still follow. And it's great. And Abe really turned me on to the idea of being a dog trainer, because I learned so much about fixing these behaviors and working with dogs that I'm just like, this is awesome. I can totally do this. This is fantastic. Because I've done this for years with horses, and it just makes sense to do it with dogs now. So yeah, he's the reason that I am who I am today. Because seeing the progress with him and learning everything that I could on the way to fixing this behavior, really was inspiring. Really it was, because I saw this dog go from absolutely terrified, slinking around on the ground, just so scared of everything, to this happy, confident dog that does agility and, hangs out in the farm with me and, plays with other dogs and just all these things, that this happy, confident, well-behaved dog, it's a completely different dog now. And I did that. And that's so inspiring for me. And honestly, in my entire life, if I were to pick one thing that I am the most proud of, it's that damn dog. Because he is a different dog than when he started. And that makes me so happy and makes me so proud of him, because I've done this awesome thing with this dog, and he has taught me so much. Yeah, he's a great dog. He's a great dog. I don't know what I did before I had this damn dog, because he's awesome. He's great. And I just love him so much. So, wow, 16 minutes. Okay, I'm going to wrap this up. If you have any questions about Abe or want to hear me talk about him more, I don't know why you would, because I've already kind of spewed on for this long. But let me know. I'm always willing to talk about him. Happy Gotcha Day to Bub.